Hey, how's it going, everyone? Cole here. Today, I want to talk about alignment with God, but more importantly, I want to talk about how we get back in alignment with God when we're out of alignment. Because as you know, in being human, it is very easy for us to get distracted or to be distracted and let our mind wander. One shiny thing over here turns into another shiny thing, and before you know it, we got a million shiny things that we're setting our attention on, and it's like our minds are a leaf blowing in the wind, right? So with that, I pose this question. When we are out of alignment with God, how do we realign? And I answer this by comparing this to meditation. And here's why. In meditation, one of the biggest distractions that we all face is the chatter of our minds. It's always a battle of our mind. And in those moments, it's very easy to entertain those thoughts that we have and allow ourselves to drift away. Like I was mentioning a second ago, let our mind go into autopilot. But if we can observe and acknowledge those thoughts without reacting to them, first and foremost, and come back to a single focus point, such as our breathing, then we are victorious. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with meditation, I can tell you from personal experience, and I know I'm not the only one, it's a very uncomfortable process in the very beginning because it is you versus you. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, you are forced to sit in complete silence, right? And for someone who is not used to, sitting in silence, you've always got something stimulating you. There's always some stimulus that you can cling on to, your doom scrolling, movies, books, whatever it may be. It's very difficult to sit down for an extended period of time and just be still, right? At least for me. So it's very uncomfortable. And you're forced to sit in silence, for however long you can stand it, 3 to 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You're an OG if you can do 20 minutes. Your heartbeat, all of these processes that we don't normally pay attention to until we are faced with them head on, right? And one of the frustrating things that you'll come across, other than trying not to be fidgety, is being distracted by your thoughts. Now, it's inevitable. It's always going to happen because we're human. When we're sitting down and we're trying to clear our mind of that, there's always going to be something that pops up in your head. And the easiest way to, as I point out here, to get around that is to have something to ground yourself, something to anchor yourself to get away from it when it happens. And that technique is by going back to your breathing. Because we're going to get a little far away and we say, well, wait a minute, I'm getting distracted. I need to bring it back. So in those moments, we go back to focusing on our breathing and then bring it back, and the cycle repeats because it's always going. You know this, folks. It's always a battle of our minds. So with that being said, there's a Bible verse that I use to compare this to in terms of answering this question. How do we get out of alignment, or when we get out of alignment with God, how do we realign? So in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 5, Paul demonstrates what I'm trying to get at here when he says, we demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God. And we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. And that is the key thing there. We take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. We give it to God. So going back to meditation, I ask this question. So anytime we get distracted or let our thoughts drift in meditation, what should we do? Well, we acknowledge and observe those thoughts and bring our attention back to our breathing. So how do we apply that to God when we get out of alignment with Him? So, if we get distracted and start drifting away from God, how do we get back in alignment? We simply bring our attention back to Him. Now tell me that doesn't make sense. You see how easy that is? Now in the beginning, that's just like anything, just like with meditation, it's a hard thing to practice because wherever we're at in our life, in our journey, we could be frustrated, we could be just absolutely just angry. And it's very hard to snap ourselves out of that and bring attention to it and say, okay, I'm angry. It's hard for us to do that. It's hard to identify that, label it, and then do something about it. But when you practice that, and especially in this context, no matter where you're at in your mind at any given moment, say you're frustrated, and you say, wait a minute, I'm frustrated. But you know what? I'm going to take this thought captive and I'm going to give it to Christ. And when you do that over and over and over again, it's less difficult. So I challenge you to turn this into a habit. Now, this is a beautiful habit. If you can get past this and turn this into a habit, then you will be victorious. Plain and simple. But make no mistake, it's going to take some practice. And I encourage you to pray about it. Pray about it beforehand. Ask God to, open your mind, open your heart, your ears, and allow Him to give you an awareness that allows you to catch those things and make it obedient to Christ in that given moment once you recognize it and acknowledge it. I challenge you to do that, to pray about it beforehand. Ask God to provide that type of awareness for you every single day from here on out, and help you identify those things so you can give it to Him. I challenge you to that. But yeah, it gets easier over time, folks. And once again, say it one last time. Once you get used to it, it gets better, and you become more powerful in your relationship with Christ. But anyway, that's all I've got for the moment. I will have more videos like this in the future. So yeah, until then, I will see you in the next one.